Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I have another family favorite recipe passed down from my grandmother to my mother, and it's called hamburger FASIRT. And it's a very simple recipe. It has a bit of spices in it. So what I have here is one kilogram of lean ground beef, and 2 eggs, and a cup of breadcrumbs, 2 garlic cloves chopped, and 1 medium onions chopped, and half a teaspoon of ground pepper, and a half a teaspoon of dried marjoram. And marjoram is just like oregano, and it's a bit milder than oregano. And you can use it for meat and fish and soups. And so I've got half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon of vegetable base or Vegeta, and a cup of vegetable oil. And I've got it ready on the stove, ready for the hamburgers to be fried. And so what I'm going to begin by doing is I'm going to be adding the eggs. So I have 2 whole eggs added to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the garlic and add that to the ground beef. And then I've got my onions. I'm just going to put half the onions in right now. And I've got that all prepared and chopped up, ready to go. So I'm just going to mix up some of the ingredients that I mentioned so far. I'm going to start stirring that into the ground beef. Now, this was a family favorite. My grandmother would serve it with parsley potatoes, and I do have a recipe on site for parsley potatoes, so I'm going to be cooking that up for dinner tonight. And you could also serve a cucumber salad with it, or calamari, which is the mixed pickles recipe that I have on the website. So I'm just going to continue stirring that in, and then I'm just going to add my breadcrumbs. So I have a cup of ground breadcrumbs. I'm going to mix that into the mixture. Now my grandmother would go, I remember visiting her in Hungary during my summer vacations, and I'd spend about 4 to 6 weeks with her in her home, and we would go pick up the meat, a piece of meat, and then she'd have her own meat grinder at home, and she'd grind down her own ground beef fresh, ready for hamburgers. And these hamburgers are cooked slowly at medium heat for a longer period of time. She just thought that it gives it better flavor, and cooking it slow, it would the result would be better. And I just loved her hamburgers. So I'm just going to continue adding the onions, the rest of the onions. If you want to use less onions, you can. I like to use a lot of onions in my recipes. So if you don't want to use as much, you can use half the amount. But it's great to have it, if you like it, a lot of onions. I'm just going to add the remainder of the breadcrumbs in there. Going to continue stirring this around. And these will make quite a few hamburgers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze some of them down in a freezer container. It's great. You can warm it up, and it keeps for a couple weeks in the freezer. You just warm it up in the microwave if you like. But if you're expecting a lot of guests, then you'll cook up quite a few of these. So I've got marjoram, as I mentioned. It's similar to oregano. It's got a milder flavor to it, and you can add it with fish. And my grandmother would use this in her cooking often. She'd add it there, and you don't need a whole lot because it is mild, but it does give it a sort of a great flavor to it, the hamburgers. And then I've got, of course, some Hungarian paprika. And it's not a hot paprika, it's a sweet paprika. And I've got about half a teaspoon of that in there. If you want to add more, of the spice, you can do that according to your taste. And then I've got some Vegeta, and if you can't get a hold of Vegeta, this is the one MSG free one, then you can do a vegetable base of some sort. And this is what my mother would add to her meat, is Vegeta. And then, of course, the ground beef. The ground beef is lean, the lean kind. So, and then I've got the ground pepper. If you want to add less or more, that's fine too. So I'm really going to mix these up, and then I'm going to make small, sort of like round, sort of like oval shaped, like almost like an egg shapes rather than a patty, sort of a hamburger patty. That's how my grandmother made the Hungarian hamburgers. And they're a bit smaller than a hamburger patty that you would generally see. Just going to make sure to mix it around quite well. So this is served usually with potatoes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my hamburger sort of like little, not patties, but little hamburger kind of oval shaped sizes, and I'm just going to go get my some gloves here to work with, sort of like food kind of gloves. And what you would do is you would roll them into kind of like oval shaped, and you'd kind of prepare this before you would actually fry them down. Just going to stir this around a little bit more. And I'm just going to show you how my grandmother and my mother makes the hamburgers. Now, if you wanted to do flat shape, that's fine too, you know. So I'm just going to, what she did was she kind of made them oval shaped. I'm going to get a little bit more like that, sort of like an oval shape, like sort of like this. And then I'm going to prepare those. I'm going to prepare another one for you, so to make them kind of like oval shaped, like an egg. And just roll them out. It's a little bit different from the hamburger patty, but I mean, it's okay to make it into, if you prefer to do it into a hamburger patty, that's fine too. So I'm just going to continue making a bunch of these, and then I'm going to fry them down in some oil, and I'm already preheating the oil, and fry it at about medium heat. It's going to take a little bit longer, and to test, use a meat thermometer, and I have the temperature on my website. So it should be about 170 degrees Fahrenheit and about 77 degrees Celsius. It should read about that. So you test the hamburgers. You make them kind of like the same size, and I would cook them at the same time. So if you're going to put in 5 or 6 into the oil, start cooking them at approximately the same time, so that and kind of try to make them about the same size. And check to see if the hamburger is well cooked. My grandmother always cooked it a little bit slow, at a slower rate. It's just she just believed in doing that, in cooking things a little bit slower. at a lower heat, so that you could avoid burning and overcooking. So I'm going to continue doing this, and I will be back to show you the finished product. And I'm going to be cooking up some parsley potatoes to go with the hamburgers, and whatever leftovers I have, I'll probably put it into a freezer container. It's great to take for lunch, you know, for work. You take this and warm this up for lunch when you're going to work. Just put it into a freezer container and take it to work. And I'm sure people are going to be surrounding the microwave and asking you, oh, what have you got in the microwave? It smells so great, because it smells really great with all the spices in it, and especially with the marjoram and the paprika in it, and the onions and garlic and all the other seasonings that I've mentioned. So I'll be back and I will show you this great recipe. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I have some hamburgers that were frying in some oil, a cup of vegetable oil at medium heat, and so I've tested the hamburgers and they're ready to eat. So I'm going to show you what this great recipe looks like. So I've also cooked up some parsley potatoes, and I fried down some parsley and some margarine, and I poured it over the potatoes, cooked potatoes, and I used just red potatoes for this particular dinner. So I'm going to show you what this great recipe looks like. So I've added some some parsley potatoes, and I got the hamburgers all cooked up or fried up, and just wanted to show you how it looked with the parsley potatoes. So I'm going to be serving that with some cucumber salad tonight. So and then of course I have some just going to show you what the rest of these look like just on a plate. So I've fried up some of these for dinner tonight. So now I'm going to be freezing some of these for in sort of like freezer containers for leftovers for take to work sometime next week for lunch. So this is actually one of many of my favorite family recipes that I shared with you. So, and there's a copy of the recipe on the website also, and there's a picture also of it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at irene@irinkaskitchen.com or irinkaskitchen.com. Until next time, bon appetit, jo eet vadet.